Intro music.
Wait, that's not it.
What? He's no good to me, Dad.
Intro music.
My cuddle
Intro music.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Okay, so this time even I couldn't hear the sound. So I think
Wow.
there was an intro there. I don't know. I'll have to figure
We'll put
out.
it in post. How about that?
We'll do that. If it's not there, it'll be there in post.
And yet here we are yet again for another episode, and this is the one that everyone's been waiting for. We're back for Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk. We're a Mandalorian podcast, and you better believe this week we're a Mandalorian podcast.
Finally, we're a Mandalorian podcast that gets to talk about Mandalorian stuff.
Oh, and talk about it we will. It was a great episode. There's a lot to unpack in this episode. Hopefully by now, if you're listening to this, you have watched The Mandalorian, available streaming now on Disney+. But just in case you don't know us, we are Bantha Milk Podcast. We're hoping you're catching us for the first time if you're a new listener, right? Because a lot of times this sort of stuff comes out and people get more interested. What's the podcast scene for this, right? And of course, you come to Bantha Milk Podcast, and here we are. All right, so Rob, hope you're doing well. Rob watched it even like before I woke up, as is tradition.
But this was really early. So
Oh, yeah.
We, this week, we're fostering a dog again from matchdogrescue.org.
All right, good
they're-
plug.
they're
Matchdogrescue.org.
They're here in New Jersey, so check them out if you want to rescue a dog. They come from Texas, and some even come from Mexico, and then they drive them all the way up here to New Jersey, and they find new homes for them up here. So we had a dog. He was super awesome. He was what was his name? What type of a dog was he?
Oh, the Catahoula leopard dog,
yeah,
right?
The Catahoula
Yeah.
leopard dog. Really, really cool. The Louisiana state dog.
That's right. Yeah, Catahoula is a parish down in Louisiana. I know. I think I have some listeners down in Louisiana. So if I have any friends listening from Louisiana,
So
hope you're doing
shouts
well.
out to our friends in Catahoula.
That's right. But also shout outs to all of our social media, right? You want to make
Yes.
sure you're checking us out on social media, right? We're all over the place. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, both at Bantha Milk Podcast. We're on Twitter at Bantha Milk. You can email us at banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com, or maybe just go to our website. How about that?
Banthamilkpodcast.com. You can check us out on all those. And you can also check us out on our parent organization, Ears Up Podcast. Check them out at earsup-podcast.com.
That's ears with a Z.
Ears with a Z, because they're cool. Make sure you support their Patreon. So go to patreon.com and then type in Ears Up with a Z. And please support them. You support them, you support us. You help us out. $2 a month gets you into the Cool Kids Club. And if you really like Ears Up, their main website or their main podcast, which is about Disney World or Disneyland, sorry. If you
Get your facts right.
sign up at their $12 a month club, they will give a special shout out to you at the end of the episode. So they'll even say, "Hey Nick, thanks for supporting us."
That's
Bam.
messed up. We give shout outs for free. We got to start charging for our shout outs.
We got to start. We sure do.
That's it. No more free rides, ladies and gentlemen.
Nope.
The free shout-outs are over. You want to hear your name on my show, you better start sending us some money. Or else some drink recipes. I'm drinking some more. So, obviously we have our Bantha Milk to discuss our fabulous show from today. All right, what do you got? You got blah, blah, blah IPA?
I have blah, blah, blah. 21st Amendment, because
21A.
they support the show, so they support
do.
the show. I support them. Went out and bought a 6-pack of blah blah blah, which I think is quite appropriate for us since we are all about banter.
The blah, blah, blah.
We
That's
do a
right.
lot of blah blah blah. So this would be pretty, but it's a double IPA. So by the end of the show, I may be going blah 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 as opposed to blah blah blah.
I like it. I'm excited about it. Meanwhile, I'm just drinking a glass of 12-year Macallan single malt whiskey, Scotch, right? Just to get us lubricated for this conversation, because it was a great episode. We've got a lot to unpack in this episode, but Rob had mentioned that we do a lot of blah blah blah, and the reason we do a lot of blah 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 is because we've been around for a year now, haven't we?
A year. Boom.
We have hit the milestone. 1 year, over a year actually. We missed our 1 year mark because that's how we roll.
We need like confetti and party hats and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we'll put those in post. Also.
Special effects team, get on that.
Yeah, get on that. So so we've been around for a whole year now. So this is amazing. I'm very proud that we stuck it out for a whole year.
We sure did. Is this a record for you in podcasts?
This is a record for me in podcasts.
Me too. The longest podcast I've been involved in.
There you go. Pretty awesome. So there we go.
And we have, what, 25 episodes
26.
now? Something
This
like
is
that?
episode
26.
27. It's 27.
All right, so if
episodes.
you are a new listener, right, and hopefully we're getting a lot of listeners for the first time, getting into The Mandalorian because it is a great show.
Yes.
You should go and check out our back catalog, right? We have an episode breakdown for every episode in season 1.
Correct.
Ready and waiting for you just to check out. And in the interim since, we've been just talking Star Wars news, Star Wars video games, Star Wars events, right? But we are back on track with The Mandalorian with the release of Chapter 9, The Marshal.
You got it.
And we're excited
before that,
to
we do have some
dissect it for
news.
you today.
We do have
Are
some
you
news.
sure?
We
Is there
do.
really
So here we
Star
go.
Wars news going on?
Let's listen to the Sting for
All right.
Star Wars news.
You gonna put it in post?
Neither of us could hear it, but it was there. So there we go. Star Wars news. Star Wars news.
See, now there is a shout out to our buddy Brian, right?
That's
I will
right.
give that shout out because
Yes.
our buddy Brian put together some excellent stings and segue music for us. Excellent musician and person and Star Wars fan who listens to the show.
Yes.
So there, I guess there it is. There's the caveat. We will give you a shout out if you write us music or
Right.
send
If
us
you do
drinks.
stuff for us, we'll give you a shout out on the show.
That's
So,
right.
yeah,
But we
so-
do have, I guess, some Star Wars news. Rob, what do we
Star
got?
Wars news. So first in the news, I don't know if you know this or not, but tomorrow will be Halloween, and Halloween, of course, represents the start of the holiday season.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so, you can go into any store right now and see Christmas decorations already set up. So what that means is all the new Christmas toys are coming out. So if you need I think they call him Baby Yoda unofficially. Other people have called him the child.
The people who are really in the know call him Udall.
And I
Yeah.
will give a shout out to one of the people that we work with, Kathy, that I work with. She has a Baby Yoda, the child doll in her, I guess, I don't know, some room, dining room, family room, living room, whatever it is. But she doesn't like calling him the child, so she named him Norman. Norman, yes.
He looks like a Norman.
He does look like a Norman.
Cute, dapper little Norman just
So-
sitting there.
We either call him Yaddle, or we might even switch in to start calling him Norman, just like
Norman works too.
Norman, just like Kathy did. So there we go. So any size, shape, animated, not animated, one that makes noises, one that doesn't make noises, on your shoes, on your sweatshirt, on your hat, wherever you want it, you can find the child in stores today. That's the brunt of the news. I did see this. This is pretty cool. Our good friends at Adidas, and you know what Adidas stands for, don't you?
I mean, I don't.
All day I dream about sex, right? Isn't that what Adidas stands for?
I had no idea. Is that a thing?
That's what we used to say back when I was a wee little lad.
I mean, I don't know how the 1830s were, Mr. Spear.
Yes,
but,
well, I mean,
wow, I really had never heard that.
You
I
never heard that
honestly,
saying?
no, not once.
that's
All
so
right.
funny. Yeah, that's what we used to say. So,
Okay, so what did they do? Our buddies at Adidas.
our buddies at Adidas have all new Star Wars themed sneakers coming out. So
Oh, yeah?
there is a the child sneaker, which it's like a light green and has a real small print on it of his head, and it says "Show me the way" or "This is the way" or something like that. So they have a whole bunch of Star Wars themed shoes, which are pretty cool.
Okay.
There's a Han
You need to get me
Solo
some Star
one.
Wars
It's got
shoes.
a couple of straps going over the top of it. Chewbacca high tops that are, yes, furry.
Wow, those have got to be real bad in the rain.
Yeah.
You can't imagine you take those bad boys out in the rain.
Suddenly you can't even move. Your feet weigh so much. So that's one news article, and the other news article that I have is there's apparently a new series out that just came out today called The Mandalorian.
Really?
So, yes, The Mandalorian.
This is big and different and exciting news for me.
Yes, haven't heard anything about it, but that's what I've seen in the news. So we're gonna have to do some research on what this Mandalorian show is, and then maybe we'll talk about it.
Let's just wing it. Let's give it a try.
Let's give it a try. So that's
Why
it. So
not,
there's
right?
Not really that much news, but we're gonna make our own news story, which is you could buy toys, and The Mandalorian is out today. So that's the end of the news. So I'm gonna play a little that sting again. I think it's playing. Who knows?
Put it in a post if not.
We'll put it in
Otherwise,
post
if you
it's not.
catch us on YouTube, right? Because you can catch us in an awful lot of different places. One of them
Yes,
being YouTube.
we are.
If you're catching our stream on YouTube here, you'll just get to see us kind of waiting around in silence as the audio supposedly plays, right?
Is there something playing? That's what we'll be saying to ourselves.
Now,
for why you tuned in.
the moment you've all
Yes.
been waiting for. I think it might be prudent just to catch our listeners up, right? They did that at the beginning, right? So,
Sure.
Where last did they leave us off? We had a lot of things happen last season. We got to meet a whole lot of different characters, right? But where last Mando, our boy Kyle the Mandalorian, for the diehards out there, for those of you just joining us, some people call him Din Djarin.
Yeah, whatever. His name's
But
Kyle.
where we left off, right? We had Kyle having to go off into the greater unknown and find our boy Norman, right? Our boy Norman, bring him to his people, right?
People.
He had a big epic fight with Moff Gideon. He used his jetpack. The Mandalorians had their battle, and we said goodbye to our buddies. What's Gina Carano's name in the thing again? Why am I
blanking also? You're
blanking
making
on
me
that?
blank.
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. Thank you. Very good.
We say goodbye to Cara Dune and to our boy Carl Weathers,
Apollo
who it does.
Creed.
At the end of the day, he's Apollo Creed. It doesn't really matter what is going on. Whenever I see him, I see either Apollo Creed or I think of Arrested Development.
Yes.
And they were just kind of.
Can I also say, I rewatched at 2:45 in the morning because that dog that I was talking about, he slept great all week until last night. Last night he got up 4 times in the middle of the night.
He didn't want to leave you.
He did not want to leave us. He is now with his forever family, and they looked very ecstatic to get him, so I'm very happy for that.
Hooray.
But at 2:45, he woke up, and I was like, okay, in East Coast time, 3 o'clock is when all the new shows are supposed to come out on Disney Plus. So I was like, okay, I'll just stay awake. So I watched the last episode of season 1. And maybe it's because I was watching it at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I feel Carl Weathers' acting got worse.
Yeah, I don't know that Carl Weathers was ever necessarily known as the most skilled technical actor in the world. Actually, if you watched, were you an Arrested Development fan? Mm-hmm. All right, so then you know if you watch Arrested Development, they almost poke fun at that, making Carl Weathers Tobias's acting coach.
Yes.
But yeah, he's. I like him. I think he's a great addition to the show. I don't think anyone is really sweating his acting chops. They're not exactly stellar, but he does fit great. We'll see what he does this season. We didn't get to see him this episode.
No, he was not in this episode, and neither was Cara Dune. Wasn't in this episode.
No, we
either.
did get a couple familiar faces and a couple new faces there. So let's start at the very beginning, which I am told by the Von Trapp family is a very good place to start.
Very good place
so
to start.
We start very beginning of the show. So if you have not watched The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal yet, maybe you should go watch it now because we're about to get into spoilery territory.
Yes.
Right? And there was quite a few things in here that if you haven't seen, you might want to rather watch before you hear us.
Yes,
right?
because
So
we
this
are
is your
going
warning.
to break down the episode, and we are going to tell you different parts about the episode. So spoiler alerts right now. If you're listening and didn't watch it yet and you don't want to know these things, hit pause and come back to us later. But if you do, then listen up because
Let
we're
the
going to tell
banter commence.
That's right. We're going to tell you things you didn't know.
Even
We're
things you
that
didn't
awesome.
want to know. Things you didn't know you wanted to know,
That's
right?
right.
Like, for example, it starts off, first of all, what planet do we start off on? Because it's awesome looking.
It is awesome, and I don't think, do we know?
I don't think we do.
It's just like some backwater planet.
But it's like it's clearly because I remember when we saw the trailer, we had mentioned, it'll probably not be Nar Shaddaa. For those of you who are big time Star Wars fans out there, Nar Shaddaa is like the most famous planet in Star Wars for like slummy underworld city sort of thing. So it did kind of look like it could be that, but I don't think it was.
It looked like it could be, but they did not establish that it was yet.
Right.
So we don't
which doesn't
know-
mean it wasn't.
Right.
It doesn't mean it wasn't.
We don't know what it was. It's just another one of these seedy towns and seedy planets. Now, the whole planet could not be seedy. It could have been
That's
somewhere
true.
on Coruscant. We don't know.
Maybe he's in a really rough and tumble neighborhood, down on its luck. It's been a hard economy since the Empire fell.
There's graffiti all over the place.
There's little weird red-eyed creatures that you don't want to mess around with, just kind of watching you.
Just watching you. So all the graffiti, there was little things in the graffiti. It looked like a C-3PO type droid drawn in the graffiti.
Yep.
There was the Rebel symbol from Star Wars Rebels hidden in the graffiti somewhere.
I also saw what looked like a snow trooper. Like there was a couple stormtrooper graffiti stuff, but one of them looked specifically like it had the long mask, like they had when they were storming Hoth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. Kind of pick out some stuff. Yeah, definitely saw some different droids and stuff like that. We're right back in, and I'm going to be keeping a running tally again, like I did last year, of all the Western tropes.
Oh my gosh,
that were
so
used
many in
throughout.
This one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it starts right away with at the trademark Kyle the Mandalorian spur sound. Right, he's walking, and we just hear his spurs jingle jangling. And it just the very first scene, I'm like, yeah, we're back. This is excellent. We
we're
see
in another
first of
space
all,
Western.
they're leaning more into aliens, which I love. Right,
Yes.
like we're seeing fewer and fewer human characters
And new aliens, too. Like all the aliens in that underground fight club, we've never seen those aliens before.
Most of them, right? We've seen obviously the Twi'lek that we saw going in, and we've seen the Gamorreans, which I guess I had never seen a Gamorrean without their shirt on. They're skinnier than I thought they were.
These Gamorreans are. Now,
right? Question
about the Gamorreans for you. If you remember, Jon Favreau tweeted out a picture of the Gamorreans months ago.
Right.
Like about season 2 coming and the Gamorreans. So everybody's like, oh my gosh, there's going to be so many Gamorreans. We saw Gamorreans for about 6 minutes.
Yeah, but that's kind of the awesome thing that's been about this show is that they've released remarkably little. We don't know much about anything. So you mentioned last episode that you were guessing that a lot of the scenes we saw in the trailer came directly from the first episode, and a good amount of them did.
A good amount did, yeah.
And so I think there's a good chance, when they say we're going to see a bunch of Gamorreans, we probably only saw just a fraction of what we're going to see. And I was especially jazzed, as those of you who listen to this, I have never been a huge fan of how short the show has been, right? So I don't know if this is a trend, but this first episode was 55-ish minutes long.
Yes.
Right? And so that is making me very happy.
That is,
automatically,
yes,
right?
I agree.
So we get into this little seedy fight, right? It's pretty much straight out of like any typical Hollywood movie where they go to a big fight. There's the gang boss. He's sitting there. They're betting on the fights.
Gor Koresh.
Gor Koresh, was that his name?
Koresh was his name. And do you know who he was played by?
I don't.
John Leguizamo.
No way, really?
Yeah, that was his
I had no
voice.
idea.
Yeah. It's because he was using like a gruffly voice. I'm like,
right.
it was real gruff. So you really couldn't even tell. You couldn't pick up on his accent at all. You couldn't pick up on his normal slang.
Sure.
And the guy's whole face looked to me like it was completely CGI. So it was funny that it was him, and you couldn't even tell it was him.
Oh, I had no idea until you just told me. And I love me some John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
The Super Mario movie was a classic in my childhood.
Yes.
So man, maybe I gotta go watch Super Mario Brothers tonight.
There you go.
All right,
John
Leguizamo.
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, right.
So that was it. So there's a first little secret there. It was John Leguizamo.
That's good to know. I had no idea. Learn something. It feels like a lot of people in Hollywood right now are just like, I want to be in a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? It's like maybe Jon Favreau gives him a call. You want a bit part in this Star Wars? Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Put me in there.
Yes,
Make me an alien.
Yep.
Timothy Olyphant is the same thing, right? Like I was watching him, and Timothy Olyphant's great, and he was awesome in this episode. And I was just thinking, this guy probably is just like talking to his agent, like, if you can get me in a Star Wars, just make it happen.
Just make it happen.
I would if I were a famous actor.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. So,
but obviously the scene going on is going to devolve because that's what happens. It's the Mandalorian. It's Star Wars. And John Leguizamo shoots one of the Gamorreans. How rude.
How rude. Because he wanted his guy to win. So his guy was about to lose. So he shot the guy that was winning, and that way he won.
That seems like a pretty flagrant violation. Like, it seems like he's not even trying to hide the fact that he's cheating there.
Yeah, I would, and I would question whether, what kind of stipulations they have on how a person wins a battle.
Yeah. I loved, too, after that happened, the guy he was fighting just, got up off the ground and looked around like what happened? It's over? So, and then, of course, everyone is pointing their gun at Mando.
Right, because they want his armor. Because this guy, Gor Koresh, is now trying to hunt down Mandalorians for their awesome Beskar armor.
Right.
And
yeah.
In true Kyle fashion, he says, nope, not going to happen. And this was the first comedic, what's the word I'm looking for? Interlude or whatever of our good friend Norman.
That's right, Norman. Yeah, a non sequitur, right? A little comedic non sequitur where that really famous moment from the trailer that we all saw and loved, where he knows, Daddy's about to get down to business.
I'm gonna hide,
right? And we see them whistling bluebirds pop out, and he goes, "See you guys."
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, not everybody.
No.
Right?
No.
Because first of all, he killed a bunch of them with the whistling bluebirds, and then we have. I feel like the fight scenes with Mando, because he's got all the gadgets and he's kind of clunky in the armor. It almost always reminds me of Batman.
Yes.
100%. The way he fights, because he like takes punches. Like at one point, someone punched him in the head and it hurt him, and then you could see him like take a moment and think about it, and then he headbutted that guy's fist.
Yes.
Did you notice that?
Yes.
It was awesome. Like in the middle of this fight, you just see him go.
And then the guy goes
boom!
like this. The guy's like, oh.
It was the cool. So like he's using his armor as a weapon, which is excellent.
Or in the first one, when he first hits his head, he pushes his head back, and then it hits the person who's holding him in the face, and the guy was like, "Oh!" And he
wow.
Like,
See, I didn't even notice that. Some of the choreography, the fight choreography in this stuff is killer.
Yeah. So great fight scene.
Yeah, and we see, like you said, we see some new aliens. We also saw a Zabrak, right,
Yes.
like Maul is. So we saw some old ones as well. And this scene was the first moment where where the music kicked in, and I went, "Oh, we're back."
We're back.
Because when the fight first starts and he kicks Baby Yoda's little thing away, it comes in with that weird guitar thing, and I was just like, "Yes."
Yes.
It's happening. It's here.
Yep. Ludwig
by the way,
Göransson, man, I was
quick
like, yes.
quick side note about Ludwig Göransson. I was watching. Do you ever watch New Girl?
Yeah.
I was watching New Girl. It's a great show if you've never seen it. And then the credits roll around, and I see his name in the credits. Apparently, he did the music for New Girl.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for him.
Which is a much different show for sure.
Yes, and the music was much different in it than it is
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. 100%.
Oh yeah, but great, still great music, right? So our boy Ludwig Göransson doing some great stuff.
So then the guy, our good friend Gor Koresh, runs away. He hides. You see him hiding. He's running, and it's funny seeing like an overweight alien running down this dark road. He's like,
Yep, didn't have a chance.
Didn't have a chance. And I was talking about it with my son, and he was like, I just love how cool Kyle is the whole time. He's never frazzled. He's never
That's
worried.
a Batman thing too, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like you never see Batman really run after anyone.
No.
Batman just appears somewhere, and
Yep.
It's like the bad guy in movies too. They're never running. They're never rushed. They just kind of walk towards you,
Yep.
and that is the mark of a true badass, right?
Yes. So he does that as well. He walks out. The little fat guy's running, and he just shoots his grappling hook, his Batman grappling hook, wraps around his legs. He starts pulling him back, throws him over the light, and he says, "Oh, I'll tell you whatever you want to know." Blah blah blah, whatever. And he tells him that there's a Mandalorian on
Tatooine.
And
Back
he's
to
like,
Tatooine again.
And then he says, I like the line. He goes, "Don't kill me." He goes, "I won't
kill you, but you won't die by my hand."
Yeah,
right.
which is
As
a
soon
great
as he
line.
said that, I'm like, oh, "Come on, man, you got to know where this is ending."
Yeah, this is not going to end well for you.
No,
So then,
semantics are very important with Mandalorians. Apparently,
True, very true. So then he shoots the light, so it gets dark right where he is, and those wild dogs with the red eyes come after him, and he's like, "No, no, no," and then he's dead.
Yeah, we don't get to see the good stuff, but we know.
We know what happened.
That's right.
Then he flies,
And then, of course, it's off to Tatooine, right?
to
And
Tatooine.
back to Tatooine. I wonder how long, like if we put all the Star Wars movies on a screen, I wonder how long we've spent on Tatooine in Star Wars.
Oh,
I'd have to imagine it's the planet we've spent the most time on,
oh,
right?
definitely. I would definitely say so. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we head back to Tatooine and we see our girl. What did we call her last year? Brian would know. Well, what's her name? She always reminded us of that celebrity.
Oh, Rhea Perlman. She looked
Yes,
like Perlman.
Rita Perlman. Our girl Rita Perlman came back.
Yeah, but it's not
it was
her.
good to see an old familiar face, not real Rita Perlman, obviously.
So
Right.
it's Amy Sedaris. Amy Sedaris.
Sedaris.
Yeah.
Sedaris, I'm pretty sure. We do a lot of research for this
We
show.
do,
We make sure
and then
we
we
mind
forget
our
all
P's
about
and
it.
Q's.
But yeah, so she's back from Saturday Night Live. She's back on there again.
Yes, she is, and of course we get what is the most talked about cameo and reappearance of the entire episode and probably the most newsworthy event of the entire show. Skippy's back.
Skippy.
Did you catch Skippy,
Yes.
the Jedi droid, coming back?
Skippy,
R5.
The Jedi droid. R5D5 is back. And
I think it's R5D4.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong.
And Dave Filoni has specifically said that is who it is.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he has confirmed that it is R5.
That is not just any random R5 droid. That is our boy Skippy, the Jedi droid.
And if you look closely or pause it, one or the other, when he blows his thing in episode 4.
His motivator.
His motivator. When he blows his motivator, in this episode, there's like a grease spot and a dirt spot around where the blown motivator was, just to confirm that, in fact, it was R5.
That is amazing. I love it. They did a lot of that in this episode. Like later on when we see our next cameo, right? Like we get to see just like the little details that like this isn't just any armor. This is that armor. You know what I mean?
Armor,
so,
yes.
yes,
it was R5, and she had a great line. You can't get good help these days, and I don't even know who to complain to, which was awesome. And of course,
great.
Mando, Kyle is just like,
He
I
doesn't
don't
care.
have time for your humor.
Nope. But he is better with droids, right? They made
He
a
is.
big point out of making sure we knew that he was okay with the droids taking a look over the ship, which was not the case beforehand. So
No.
I guess IG-11 made a impact on him with his sacrifice.
Yep, his heart grew 2 sizes that day.
That's right, which is funny because IG-11's heart exploded, and that's
Which
what made it happen.
So it's pretty sad. I did like one of her lines also where she says, "Oh, thank the Force."
Yeah,
It's like,
that was
instead of
pretty
thank
cool.
God, they say thank the Force. So,
Well, I've heard that before
Yeah.
in Star Wars. The other thing I've heard from C-3PO a lot was thank the Maker.
thank the Maker. Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
so it's interesting to hear, like, thank the Force in particular 5 years after the fall of Endor, because we have, a guy like Din Djarin, who apparently has never heard of Jedi.
Right.
And yet we've got this random dock worker who works at a spaceport fixing spaceships, but she knows what the Force
She
is.
knows what the Force is.
So I'm wondering if that has any bearing later on, because,
I don't
again...
know. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing when she said it. I was like, wait a minute. She knows all about the Force, but he doesn't?
Yeah.
So
And we got a whole lot more. Again, they just really love to show us that Tusken Raiders are not the bad guys, right? So we see Tuskens as we drive by, right? We get a lot more Tusken chat as he makes his way, because he talks to our girl about this settlement, right? That they don't know where it is. Now, there's a lot of tie-in to both this settlement and the characters we're about to meet in the Star Wars Aftermath book. And when I say a lot of tie-in, I mean not a whole lot, right? It's there's some chatter on Star Wars sites and stuff about who this character who we meet is, because it was such a unique and small tie-in to the Aftermath book. So it's really cool. Not only are they bringing in a lot of stuff from the movies and a lot of stuff from the TV shows right into the show and into the movies, but they're very clearly paying attention to the minutia detail of the books even.
yes. And they're bringing
so that's really awesome.
Stuff that was, according to Disney, legend.
Right.
And now they're making a lot of this legend stuff canon, because now they're bringing it into Disney's Star Wars universe, which I really like.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of that in this episode.
Yes.
The first one, obviously, being we get into it's called Freetown, right? Where they all kind of hang out.
Well, that's what it was in the book, but that's not what it's called. They have a different
Right.
name in this show, and
Right.
another like Moss something or other. I forget. I don't remember.
Right. Yeah. I forget too.
But it's
They make a big deal of it. Either way, it was Freetown in the book, right?
in the book it was Freetown that he was the sheriff of, but in this he's the marshal of whatever this town is.
Right. And we get back in, and first of all, when we were riding in, here's where we lean into another one of those Western tropes, right? Because he's zooming down on his bike, zooming through the sands of Tatooine, and when he finally gets to this little remote, kind of desolate town with not a lot in it, he very slowly makes his way down the main drag, almost like he's on his horse, just
Just like they're
sauntering
strolling in on their horse.
Yep, and
all the
everyone from
people
town
are watching. They're looking.
Yep.
They're going into their houses. They're peering out.
Oh yeah, and that's so like this. You think of this random remote like western town in the middle of the deserts of Arizona, and this lone horse rider kind of moseying in, and it's just so great the way they remind you every now and then that it's really a western. You know what I mean? Like it's in space, but you forget that it's a western every once in a while until they remind you and bring you back to Earth. You know what I mean? And it also really reminded me of Star Wars Galaxies. Like riding into when he was riding into that, you saw just kind of the little like huts and stuff. Yep. It reminded me of Nerdopolis on your Star Wars Galaxies.
On Sunrunner 2, yeah. When you're flying through the town and then suddenly you pull into a little, or you're flying through just emptiness, and then you pull into a little town there. Yes, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah. And even with the creatures in it are the same names in Star Wars Galaxies, but I feel. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are like, okay, we're going to use these names that we know, but we're going to change the creatures' looks up a little bit and make them look a little bit different than they did before.
Sure.
Which is cool. I like that. And also, when he talks to Amy Sedaris, he says he's looking for more of his kind, and that's why he needs to go to this town.
Right.
When I watched this whole episode, at the end of it, I said, we really didn't get further into the grand story arc.
Right.
Because
it was more world building.
World building. Nothing was
we talked a lot about world building last season, and you're right. There wasn't a whole lot of, I guess you can call it the meta story, like the overall. There wasn't a whole lot of push forward in that, but I don't know that we know that there wasn't yet, because I'm betting a lot of the stuff laid the groundwork.
And that's what I also realized when he said, I'm looking for more of my kind. So he's going around the galaxy getting a checklist where a Mandalorian might be. Mm-hmm. And he found out from this guy that this guy, Gor Koresh, knows that there's a Mandalorian somewhere. So he goes and finds Gor Koresh. Where's the Mandalorian? It's on Tatooine. He goes to Tatooine to find the Mandalorian. Now, I'm jumping way ahead. He doesn't find a Mandalorian, but he can at least check that off of his box. Okay, Tatooine, check. No Mandalorians. Moving on.
Mandos here.
Moving on. So
little does he know.
But we're that's 20 minutes from now.
That's for 20 minutes from now. That's right.
But I just wanted to. My biggest pet peeve with this episode, me personally, was I thought it was a fun episode. It was a cool episode, but it didn't get us anywhere. But now, after watching it kind of a second time, I realize it did get us somewhere by not getting us anywhere.
Right.
Because he did go there. There's no Mandos there. Moving on. So,
and again, we'll talk about it in 20 minutes or so. But that tease at the end has some very, very important implications that I think are going to be important to the plot as well, right?
Yes.
But so we get to this. Maybe one of us can actually figure out what the name of the town is. I'm gonna keep calling it Freetown until I learn otherwise. But we get to Freetown, right? And he moseys, as is Western trope, moseys on up to the bar. And he's just looking for information, right? All he's doing is looking for information, and apparently what he's looking for is the marshal, who happens to be just standing there, right?
That's right. Well, it's another typical Western trope.
Oh yeah.
Your bad guy walks into the bar, and then the sheriff comes in, and this is my town. What are you doing here? And
and it was great. It was great seeing his reaction to, all right, there's the Mandalorian I've come to look for, and then to see him take that helmet off, and he's like,
nope,
that ain't right.
That ain't right.
That ain't him.
So backing up for 1 second, the bartender, do you know what species of a creature he is?
I don't.
He's a Weequay.
Okay.
And here's another fun Jon Favreau little Easter egg here. The guy who plays him, his name is W. Earl Brown.
Okay.
He was in the TV series Deadwood.
Really?
Which was a Western.
All right.
So he was like typecasting this guy. You want to be in another Western? Now you're going to be an alien in a Western. So come on down. And which is also funny because our good friend Timothy Oliphant also in Deadwood. So these two guys from Deadwood are now reunited in a new Western here on Star Wars. On a planet called Tatooine.
That's right, and they're loving it, right? And
Yes.
and they're obviously going to have a intense stare off / who's the bigger badass off, right? And honestly, I was seeing this and I was like, is this it? Are we going to like they're going to kill off Timothy Oliphant that quickly? And no, obviously they weren't going to get a guy like Timothy Oliphant, get his hair to look just perfect and like get that nice coiffed beard and just for him to get killed in the first scene. It wasn't going to happen.
So when he walked into the doorway, did he look like a cosplayer version of Boba Fett to you?
You know what it is? It's never the armor. It's always what goes underneath.
Right.
Like the armor it always kind of looks the same, but like when you look at like the clothes that they wear underneath the armor, it can make or break it. It's the same with cosplayers.
Yeah.
So I feel like he had like just like a t-shirt on underneath and he kind of looked like, yeah, you're right, like a cosplayer who just like kind of didn't have his whole outfit yet together, but he made the armor so he wanted to show people.
The cosplay event came much earlier, much quicker than he expected.
Yeah,
so
he
didn't
wasn't quite
finish
prepared.
His whole suit, so he's like, I'm going to wear what I have. So,
but it was one of those moments where we saw that, like I said earlier, we saw that bullet hole right here.
Yes,
and that was like there's not really any doubt whose that belongs to, right? Mm-hmm. That is the Fett armor, right? And there is talk if you read the Aftermath books, you do actually learn about him buying this stuff from the Sandcrawlers, or from the
Jawas.
The Jawas, right, off the Sandcrawlers. And he does give you like a little flashback. It is kind of cool to see like a scene that was discussed in the books and stuff like that. They decided just to give us a quick show us on screen version of it.
Yeah.
They did seem kind of wimpy, the mining people, right? He like shows up with a couple plates of armor and a helmet.
Yeah.
They
And
shoot
they're
him
like,
once.
Oh no. Yeah.
And he's
bounces
apparently
off
very
one
good
time.
with a gun.
Yeah. He shoots 4 of them and 12 more leave.
They run away.
They run away. They're like, oh no, we're out of here.
Yeah. So honestly, when I saw that, because I didn't read I have to read the Aftermath book series still.
Me too.
And I hear it's great, but I didn't read Aftermath. I had known about Cobb Vanth. I had heard that name before, but when I saw him like recounting his story, it seemed fishy to me, and I was like, this seems like he's coming off too much like the good guy here, right? So what is Timothy Oliphant hiding? Turns out he's a paper salesman at Osprey Paper, and we didn't even know about it, stealing all of Dunder Mifflin's paper clients.
All their clients. Now,
and you know what? I hear he went out on a date with Pam and never called her back. It's messed up.
Because she was...
a little dorky.
A little dorky. That's what it was. She's a little dorky, so he never called her back. I have another issue with... Cobb Vanth in this scene. Mm-hmm. So obviously Mando's not afraid to kill people.
Right.
You saw in the first scene he killed all those guys that had guns on him with the whistling bluebirds. Not a problem. He kills the other guy or lets the dogs kill him, whatever. So he's not afraid to kill people. He tells Cobb Vanth, "Give me the armor." And he says no. And then there's this standoff. This Western standoff. Who's going to shoot first? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, come on. Like, you're not afraid to kill anybody, and now
just
you're
take it.
Now you're going to pause. Take his armor. He doesn't deserve it.
Maybe the armor just gave him pause. He's like, I don't want to mess up the armor.
Maybe that's what it was.
It's a relic. You notice that it has like a little readout on the chest?
Yeah, and it was like digital, and it kept like...
I never noticed that in the original trilogy. Is that there in the original trilogy?
I mean, I saw well, I'll do it on this side. I did see in the original trilogy, there were 2 red bars there, but I don't remember them ever lighting up the way they do now.
Interesting.
If they lit up like that when he was in Jabba's palace, you would have seen it better. But I don't know. They tweaked it a little bit there.
Right, and so we meet our boy Cobb Vanth, the Marshal, as his town likes to call it. And we're given, a second of, will they, won't they, before we obviously know that something's going to happen to stop it. And what that thing is a giant freaking monster just kind of swimming under the town. And honest to goodness, I thought it was going to be I thought we were going to get our first real shot of like a full Sarlacc monster, or
I thought it was going to be a Sarlacc, just like,
and they were like moving around, and that was like our connection to the Boba Fett thing. I was like, oh my gosh, the Sarlacc is so. But no, it was not. It was our first on-screen look at a crate dragon with skin.
Yes.
Right? Because we've seen a krayt dragon on screen before.
Yes.
In episode 4, but it was unfortunately missing skin and organs and all of that.
It was just the skeleton.
Yes.
So now
right,
we saw the outside of it, not just the bones on the inside.
and it was awesome looking, man.
It was awesome looking.
Like,
Now,
wow.
it was the whole storyline, this whole plot line here could be an homage to two different old movies.
Go on.
One, Tremors.
I've never seen Tremors.
So Tremors started in 1990, and it was the same thing. These worms that were growing underground, and they were coming up and eating people. And also, it was very Jaws-esque. The shark, he's the shark. Even when he comes out and he's eating, he jumps out. The nose looked very much like a shark.
Sure.
Coming out, and he's like a sand shark. So he's coming out, he's eating the things and then going back again.
Kind of gave me Beetlejuice vibes. You know, the sandworms from Beetlejuice?
Yeah, from Beetlejuice, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another scene later when they're loading up all the bombs, and the one guy drops the bomb, and the other guy starts yelling at him.
Right.
That is a direct quote from Jaws. In Jaws, when they're loading the
explosives?
the tanks, somebody drops one and the guy yells at him exactly the same way.
That's
so
amazing.
That was pretty funny.
I
So
love
yeah,
it.
so Tremors, which by the way, the 7th Tremors movie came out on October 20th of this year.
Wow.
There were 7 of them. 6 of them went direct to DVD, and one
One would imagine so.
So
boy.
if you missed Tremors, you can check them out now.
That's right. So we go from there, right? And that is the intro to our big problem, right? The big problem
Yes.
is obviously this giant sand dragon that is terrorizing everything, right? And so that gives us a unifying force for our people to decide to put their differences aside.
Oh, well, what
and
about the speeder bikes?
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right? Because this is Kyle and Cobb deciding, hey man, if you help us, I'll give you the armor. Right? He was putting up a big stink about the armor. Give me the armor. But he sees an opportunity here, and he's like, listen, this thing has been killing our people. It's been eating our mining supplies.
Let's go kill it.
If you help me kill it, the armor's yours. Right? And
Which
obviously,
made me laugh because Mando could just kill him and take it. But whatever.
yeah,
This is
I guess
better storytelling.
it's the code, right? This is
Yeah.
the way.
Right.
Right. And so they go out to investigate and track things down, and they encounter our buddies, the Tusken Raiders again.
Which
the
sound
Tusken
like-
Raiders are awesome. Like
awesome.
they're making them so cool in this, and we get a lot of really interesting glimpses into Tusken Raider life. Like we start seeing like those gaffy sticks that they use that are like the trademark Tusken Raider tool and weapon. We see one of the Tusken Raiders cleaning one of the Bantha's teeth with it. Right? So
a toothpick as well.
yeah, apparently we don't know a whole lot about Tusken Raider,
And they have nice dogs as pets.
Yeah, that was like there are all these dogs that all of a sudden we think we're gonna have to fight. I thought like when we first see these dogs, I thought that they were like the little cratelings, like the krayt dragon's little buddies, and it turns out they were the puppies of the Sand People. And our boy Kyle just said, "Here, boy,
Come here, boy. Come here.
and he was like, "Okay." But you're right. We did get a glimpse, right? Because they teamed up and they were driving out into the sunset together, and we have Kyle on his crappy little rust bucket, and then Cobb with possibly the coolest sand speeder of all time, with what looks like specifically not just a pod racer pod on it. It specifically looks like Anakin's pod.
It totally looks like Anakin's pod.
Yeah.
The one engine from Anakin's pod racer. Totally, that's what it looked like to me as well. So
So-
that was pretty cool that they he found
It's
that.
just
and-
such a silly thing for them to add in, but like, I mean, it's Tatooine. I can't imagine a whole lot of what happened to these pod races. We haven't heard about a pod race since the Bantha Eve Classic in Episode 1. So are they still going on? We don't know. Maybe there's just pods around Tatooine collecting dust for these 40 or so years, and he salvaged it and turned it into a bike.
He changed the spark plugs in it, and boom, off it was, and now he turned into his own little speeder bike.
Yep.
So I liked it. I like how Jon Favreau loves to tie in all these little Easter eggs.
Yep. And it feels like every episode is a love letter to Star Wars fans.
Yes.
You know, it's like, hey, I know that 95% of the general population who watches this is not going to get this reference, but this one's for you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I love it.
Question, we need to keep a tally from now on of these two things. Because one was used in the very beginning of the episode and one was used in the flashback episode. Okay. One, how many times are we going to see the ice cream maker?
Several.
Because we've seen it 2 different times.
Yeah,
now
we saw the Beskar in it in the first episode, and then we saw those weird crystals that Cobb
got were in the ice cream maker. So we've seen 2 ice cream makers. And then 2, and we talked about it a little bit last season, and we might have to just, unfortunately have to rewatch all of last season to keep this tally going.
Darn.
But how many episodes does he use his flamethrower in? And this one,
dude. When he used it, I was just like, really, buddy? Like, are you just sitting there? Like, I want to use this fire as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Like, they're sitting there bickering, and he just just shoots his fire into nothing.
This is him saying, like, class, stop arguing. Like,
dude,
I
need a wrist-mounted flamethrower for when my kids won't listen to me. I just shoot it up into the air. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Shut up.
I'm trying to talk here.
Yeah, it was
be perfect.
It was hysterical. It was so good.
So we need to keep track of those 2 things. So far, ice cream maker count is definitely at 2. And I think
flamethrower were at least at 5 or 8.
At least 5 or 8.
Right, because I think he used it effectively 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. He used it to 0 effect at least 5 times last season.
Yes, he's tried many times and failed, and I think he did use it twice well, but I'm pretty sure 5 times failures.
Yeah.
So
right. So they're sitting. They have this conversation, and again, we're here at another Western trope, right? And this one is like laying it on super thick. You have, the cowboys and the Indians, basically, right? It's the natives and the local population who have had all this tension, who have had fights between the two. You started it. No, you started it. Well, we were here first. Well, we're this back and forth, and then this unwilling and unwitting team up against each other. I mean, that is straight out of the Western playbook. And again, it's handled in such a cool way that like most people watching might not even really think about it. But this is all like, it seems so groundbreaking and it seems so new, but it's all stuff that's been done before. The only thing that's so new and so interesting about it is that it just feels so fresh when it's done in space.
Yep.
It's like, it doesn't feel like a spaghetti Western, but it totally is.
It totally is. So,
yep. And then, of course, the other one we have here is the fallen anti-hero who kind of sees everything, right? Like, I just feel like, I don't know, Cobb Vanth is this fallen almost an anti-hero, but that's all of them right now, right? Like, Kyle's kind of a anti-hero. Mm-hmm. He mentions in this scene that the Krayt Dragon hiding in a Sarlacc pit.
Oh yeah, that's a great line. And they go, "There's no such thing as abandoned Sarlacc pits." And he goes, "Yes, if the Sarlacc was eaten, there is."
Yeah, and that, I mean, when we've for the last 35 years had this vision of the Sarlacc being this enormous, giant, untouchable thing, and all of a sudden here's a thing that can eat it.
Yeah,
that's pretty killer.
Now, was it Rebels or in Clone Wars where they were running around in the caves that the Sarlacc was inhabiting, and they were getting closer to it? Do you remember that?
That must have been Clone Wars. I don't remember that in Rebels. Clone Wars is, I feel like there are so many plot lines in Clone Wars, and it was so long that there's so much I probably forget. I gotta give Clone Wars a rewatch. It's just so daunting because there's so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it might be Clone Wars.
Okay. So yeah. So I mean, whatever. The Sarlacc pit. The only way to inhabit that is to kill the Sarlacc. So that could also be a throwback to how Boba Fett escaped. Could he have killed the Sarlacc? Because there's 2 or 3 different theories on how he got out. Hopefully, in this next 1 or 2 episodes, we see a little flashback to how he escaped and got out.
Wait, Boba Fett escaped? This is news to me.
News? Breaking news.
Star Wars news.
Boba Fett escapes. So,
yes.
We'll get into that in 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, in about 5 minutes, right? We're doing, hey, I want to just pat ourselves on the back. We're doing a lot better this season so far at not skipping ahead and jumping back.
Ahead and
we're being very self-disciplined this season.
We are trying very, very hard.
Right, but
So-
before we get there, we have to go ahead and talk about this fight scene that they set up, right? Because obviously they all team up and decide we have to kill this enormous beast.
Yes.
And how do they do it? They throw it back to Legends, or to
Yep.
to Legends, right? And they bring in one of my favorite games of all time, and I've talked about it on this podcast before, and that is Knights of the Old Republic. Right now, the Krayt Dragon was a thing. In Star Wars Legends, right? But we didn't get to see it on screen so much. But in Knights of the Old Republic, when we go to Tatooine, right, we do have to kill a Krayt Dragon, and we do it by blowing it up the same way they do it in this one. We have to kind of lure it on top of some explosives and detonate the explosives, and that helps. Obviously, it worked a little better in Knights of the Old Republic. It didn't exactly work out that well in this one until Kyle got a little more creative.
Yes.
But there was a lot of that like minutia Knights of the Old Republic stuff. Like we saw at the end, we see this giant pearl being taken out of the Krayt Dragon, right? And the Krayt Dragon pearl is number one, a piece of loot that drops from the Krayt Dragon, and it was actually used as a lightsaber crystal.
Yes,
right?
supposed to be more powerful than a kyber crystal.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's enormous.
In this one, it's enormous.
Yeah, so either they have to take this Krayt Dragon pearl and chisel it out, right, so it can be used, or else maybe you have to get your Krayt Dragon pearl for your lightsaber from a baby Krayt Dragon. I'm going to go ahead and guess you have to chisel it out and make something out of it, right?
Like the way you chisel out a diamond to make it
Yeah.
look nice and pretty. You can make a whole bunch of little pearls to put into your lightsabers.
That's right.
Yes.
So, but yeah, a lot of again, I feel like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are Star Wars fans, and they're making what they as Star Wars fans would want to see. And what would you want to see is we want to see that we've built this enormous world. We want to see that this world matters. We want to see that things, the things that we've said still hold true. So I thought it was really cool seeing not only just a Krayt Dragon and having to deal with that, but also tying in Knights of the Old Republic. And, the fact that they even mention that, like, it's such a parallel between Knights of the Old Republic, it gives me some hope as far as, the use of Revan in future Star Wars films.
Sure, yeah.
and maybe just because Rob talked about, he saw this a little before I did, and he had mentioned that there was some Knights of the Old Republic stuff. And before I even saw this episode, there has been some pretty flagrant Knights of the Old Republic mentioning, right? Like they talk about the battle between Mandalore the Great and a race of wizards, right? That's the Mandalorian Wars that happen just before the events of Knights of the Old Republic. And Knights of the Old Republic talks about the Mandalorian Wars a lot. That's like the main conflict that kind of affected all the events of Knights of the Old Republic, right? And so I'm wondering how much of that they're going to take. It would be awesome if we started hearing names from Knights of the Old Republic used, like Mandalore the Great or whatever Mandalore they were talking about. That Mandalore was an actual playable character in that, or I guess that Mandalore wasn't a playable character, but we have a new Mandalore that comes after that. And then Revan fought Mandalore. There was a whole battle, and Revan took his mask, right? So it does look like they're going to start using a lot more legend stuff, and that's my hope anyway.
Cool. And then in the fight, when they first tried to blow up his belly and it doesn't work, then Kyle realizes that the Bantha still had all of the bombs on it, and he realized, okay, well, if I can't blow it up from underneath, I'll blow it up from inside. So this is a great scene. Instead of explaining to Cobb Vanth what he was going to do, he did the same thing that Han Solo did to Boba Fett on Jabba's palace.
He must have realized that this was an older model Mandalorian jetpack, that they had already taken care of this issue in the newer models. But he saw this thing and he went, oh, that's like the XJ Mark III. It had that really bad problem where if it got hit here, it just takes off.
It just takes off. So he did the same thing. Boom, he hits it.
And he goes.
goes.
And Cobb is not ready for it at all,
No,
man. He's just
him,
gone.
He's like, whoa! He's like taking off. So then Kyle lures the Bantha out into the middle of nowhere, and he's like, come on, let's go. Come get me. And the Bantha's like, I'm out of here. He was like, no, don't go, stay.
Yeah.
And then
he just holds on to the Bantha, man. He works out.
He does work out because those Banthas looked big and strong, and he was able to hold it back. And he did his best Pinocchio impression. He got himself inside, eaten
into
by
the belly
the whale,
of the beast.
Into the belly of the beast. He was eaten by the whale. He's hanging.
Who is
out
it?
there.
Is it Jonah? Jonah from the Bible in the belly of the beast.
Belly of the beast, yeah. So he's hanging out on his little raft in there, trying to figure out how to get out. And then he's like, oh, wait, I know what I can do. If I shoot him with my gun from the inside, he'll open his mouth in pain, and then I can fly out. So then,
and it was, again, was it the Star Wars Holiday Special where we got that?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, it was, right? Where we got that image of Boba Fett using the gun and zapping the creature that we saw in episode 1 of The Mandalorian. It was that same sort of thing where he used the whatever electric whatever he's got on that gun.
Which was banned. They talk about how Boba Fett wasn't allowed to use it because it disintegrated people or whatever it did. But
that's true.
This crate dragon was just skin and everything was so thick that it couldn't disintegrate it. So he frees himself, and then as he's flying out, he pushes the button. And if you can't blow it up from underneath, you definitely can blow it up from inside.
By the way, we haven't even mentioned the coolest part about this great dragon is that he's just been vomiting acid on people the entire time.
Like spitting acid on everybody.
Yeah, and that's, I think, another Knights of the Old Republic poll is I believe the Krayt Dragon had an acid spit ability. Okay. But, they really, it wasn't an acid spit. It was an acid vomit.
And, when he comes out of the top of the mountain, like in Doom, he comes out of the top of the mountain. Or, not Doom. Yeah. Is it Doom? No. I forget what it is. But another old Western. So he comes out of the top, and he's like a fire hydrant. He's like...
just spraying it everywhere. And you see Tusken Raiders and townspeople alike just kind of melting and turning to smoke. Yeah, initially I was like, is he spitting acid or is he just throwing up? And then I saw the smoke and I'm like, oh, he's bad.
You're like, okay, it would have been gross if he was just throwing up on them, but now it's
they just gave him an upset stomach. That Bantha, it was really high in fat and it just didn't sit well. Very rich.
He got really bad heartburn and just had to spit it all out.
Oh,
so
boy.
So then we get into.
So we get an entire shot there of the exploded Krayt Dragon and the Tusken Raiders literally just hacking away at its innards.
Yep, just like, hey, this is good meat. Did you notice on the back of Kyle's speeder bike the size of the chunk of meat that he had on the back of his speeder bike?
Was that? See, I wasn't sure. Was that a chunk of meat? Was that the heart? What was that?
I don't know if it was
the
heart or if it was just prime.
And it was
rib,
a chunk of meat,
but it was a giant chunk of meat.
Why? Is he just getting it for Baby Yoda to eat?
he really liked it. Your good Kobe beef. Well, this must
that's
be
right.
Kobe beef here, and he was like,
that's right.
I'm going to get the biggest piece of it that I can stick on my speeder bike.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that has some sort of meaning that we're going to see later down the road. We wouldn't have just seen him loading a piece of Krayt Dragon onto his bike for nothing.
I think it was just dinner. I have a feeling he pulled his Fred Flintstone giant
that's right, the giant rib of rack of ribs.
Rack of ribs. And just tips everything over. I think that's what it was. I have a feeling we're not going to see that meat ever again, but we're just going to see a fatter Mandalorian is all we're going to see. So he flies off, and then there's some lone person standing up on the hill.
I knew it.
Watching.
I knew it. I called it. Called it last year. Yep. I'm so glad they didn't make the guy wearing I'm glad they made Cobb Vanth who he was, and it wasn't just Boba Fett. But it's so great to me just to see, number one, an unmasked Boba Fett. Number two, they used Tamura Morrison, who number one was the actor, for Jango Fett for episode 2,
and the voices of all of the clones.
Yeah, and so he is great. He's been really involved, and so it's great to see him. And he doesn't look good. I mean, Rob, you had mentioned that some people had the thought that, maybe that's one of the clones or something.
Yeah, it could be Commander Cody. It could be any of the clones because they were all based off of him.
Right. So, the only issue with that being is that they only left one clone unchanged so far as age. Right. They accelerated the aging process on all the clones, but for one, and that was Boba. Right. So I'd imagine, because we know that Cody was at the Battle of Endor, right? And the Battle of Endor was 5 years before this. So technically, Cody could still be out there, but I would think Cody would look quite a bit older because in Rebels, he looked quite a bit older.
Yes, and Rebels took place at this
maybe
before this
15 years before this.
Yeah.
So it's a 99.9% possibility.
Yeah.
That is Boba Fett, and he looks awesome. He's got, first of all, he's got the lone wanderer like outlaw look. He's got like the gaffy stick and a gun. So he's clearly just been kind of surviving any way he could. He hasn't left Tatooine.
Nope.
So I'm wondering, how long has he been out of the Sarlacc?
Right.
Did he get himself out, or did the Krayt Dragon eat the Sarlacc and he managed to get out because of that?
Oh, that's a good theory.
Right. So
I
don't know
heard that one at all, but because all the theories that I heard was he blew his way out using his jetpack. What was the other one? His armor was resistant to the acids.
Sure.
And then he was able to light a grenade, one of his bombs that he has, and it blew him out.
Sure.
So there's many different ways that he could have escaped all on his own, all of which would have damaged him and whatever and caused him to take a long time to heal.
Right.
Or I also like your theory that maybe the Krayt Dragon, maybe that Sarlacc was the one that he was in and the Krayt Dragon ate it, or the Krayt Dragon...
It seems like too much of a coincidence for them to say the line, well, not if something bigger ate or something, you know what I mean? So... It could be, and it's probably, it makes more sense maybe for it to be him blasting his way out. But when you think about the line, you'll be slowly digested over 1,000 years. I don't know how that works exactly.
Right. Yeah, because,
but it stands to reason that maybe he was in there for a hot minute, and his armor was kind of helping shield him. And then, lucky for him, this Krayt Dragon comes along and rips out this Sarlacc's stomach, and he just kind of gets himself out.
Could. Now, I think Dave Filoni, being a big Star Wars fan, and knowing that Boba Fett was the greatest bounty hunter of all time, according to, legend or whatever, I think Dave Filoni is going to make it so that he gets himself out.
Yeah.
Because he's that cool.
Sure.
He can be the only person that can actually survive going into a Sarlacc pit.
Sure.
It would be cool to see. I would like to see him not do it himself and have the Krayt Dragon save him. But I think if you want to make him the biggest BA of all time, he's going to be the only one that can survive being in a Sarlacc pit all by himself. So
do you think that he's going to be a thorn in Mando's side, or you think that they're going to team up?
I don't think... I'm hoping neither. Because I've been on the record since day one saying I love Boba Fett. I don't want to see him in this series because I don't want it to be about Boba Fett.
Right.
I would like Boba Fett to find him in the next episode. Tell him, say, hey, that's my armor. I know where other Mandalorians are. Here's a planet that you can go to where you can find other Mandalorians, and then be gone with them.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see. I don't want to see them be this is the new buddy cop, Boba and Mando.
Right.
And I don't really want him to be a thorn in his side either. Maybe they start out with like another Western standoff at the OK Corral, but then he goes, "Oh, you're a real Mandalorian? Yes, I'm a real Mandalorian. Okay, let's sit down and talk about this." I would like to see that.
Yeah. I get the feeling it's not gonna be cookie cutter black and white. You know what I mean? There's gonna be shades of gray, like Dave Filoni is good at writing. Dave Filoni doesn't really write good guys and bad guys, right? He writes complex human characters, and that's forefront in, like, if you watch Rebels and you see, what's the guy with the sideburns from Rebels? That's gonna annoy me. Hux, not Hux. Hux is from anyway.
Well, the
Imperial officer,
Imperial guy who then leaves. Yeah, I think it's Commander Hux.
No, isn't Hux the guy from the redhead, played by Bill Weasley,
with the big sideburns?
No, it isn't Hux. Oh, my wife is bringing me Chinese food. I'm so very excited.
We had Chinese food today as well.
I thought Hux was the guy from the First Order.
Oh,
right, the guy played by Bill Weasley.
You're stumping me now. But anyway,
any of our fact checkers out there, I'm sure after we're done with this, I'll look it up because it's going to annoy me. But any of our fact checkers out there who wanna remind me what our guy from Rebels' name. Anyway, there's a character in Rebels who is the bad guy. He's evil. He's Imperial. He's not nice. But and so we're meant to think that that's just the way he is because that's kind of how things are. But Dave Filoni has a really great way of taking these characters and making them three-dimensional. And I think that hopefully Boba Fett gets that same treatment because he's too iconic of a character for them to mess up.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Yep. But that's how the episode ties up. I mean,
that's how it ends right there.
Like you said, it didn't necessarily propel the story that far into the future. But I think it did what every episode so far has done and just kind of set it on the path.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I thought it was a strong season 1 or season 2 opener. It didn't have maybe as many oh my God moments as like I would expect out of a season opener, but I'm really pleased that it was 55 minutes long.
Yes.
I'm really pleased with the cameos. I'm really pleased with the way.
And also they leave Cobb Vanth and him. They both say, we'll see each other again.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant's character is one that I hope we see a lot more of. I would love for him to be a series regular. I think he fit in really well. I know we'll see him again this season. I mean, that. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to bring. It's going to be another one of those. They're setting up a team so that at the end they can all join forces again. But it would be. I don't know. Timothy Olyphant's kind of a big star. I don't know what his deal is, but it'd be cool to see him join the series as a regular.
Yeah, I would like it, and I mean he's a big star, but he's been in TV series, so it's not like he's only a movie star. So I mean he's been in Deadwood, he's been in a whole bunch of other TV series, so he's good enough that he can be in a series and be a regular, and it would be pretty cool.
Sure.
I also. Look at that. Sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going, and sometimes it just completely stops on me.
That's all you need.
That's all I need, yeah. So, darn it. There was another point that I was trying to make there, and I don't have it. But anyway. All right. So, yeah, so that's that. That's the whole first episode. Now, I think episode 2, do you think it's going to still be on Tatooine? Because he hasn't... Normally we see him leave a planet, and that's when he goes to the next planet. So we haven't seen him leave yet. So maybe he's going to take that giant chunk of meat back to Amy Sedaris. I'm getting her name confused with Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
Amy Sedaris, and give her some meat so that she has a nice big chunk of crate dragon that she can have for fixing his ship. But I have a feeling there's going to be another episode on Tatooine where him and Boba Fett finally run into each other.
Yeah, if not an episode, at least part of the next episode where he's leaving, we'll definitely encounter our girl at the spaceport again, and I think that's where we'll either see Boba interact with him, or else maybe he'll track him down. It was Callus, by the way, who I was thinking of.
Okay, yes.
Callus was the guy from Rebels who's got the facial hair.
Yes.
Great character. But yeah, I think it's entirely possible that we'll stay on Tatooine at least for part of season or episode 2. I'm hoping we get to see a lot more Mandalorians, different actual Mandalorians.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, already like Bo-Katan and
Sabine
Wren are confirmed that they're going to be in it.
Right.
So we're definitely going to see him going around. Finding other Mandalorians, which goes back to the statement that he said to Pili Moto, which is the Amy Sedaris,
right.
And he says, look, I'm looking for more of my kind. This will give me the ability to meet all of the rumored and confirmed. That will give him the ability to meet all the other rumored and confirmed Mandalorians. So,
right.
I have a feeling that's the major story arc. Is he's just going around from Mandalorian to Mandalorian to find out where Baby Yoda lives and where these sorcerers are that he needs to find and give Baby Yoda to.
And my guess is that leads us to Sabine and or to Bo-Katan, and that leads us to Ahsoka, and that's our link to Ahsoka in this season, because we did get confirmation that Ahsoka will be making a cameo, right?
Yes.
Right, so my assumption is that's where she'll come into play. I don't know how big of a role she'll have. Honestly, I hope we get to see a little more of Ahsoka, and maybe they set something else up for us to see her in something else later, because I want more Ahsoka. I don't know how well she'll fit in as a permanent fixture in this show, but I would love to see more live action Ahsoka for sure.
So I mean, the rumors out there that she's going to be in this as a stepping point for her own series.
Okay.
Since the Obi-Wan series is still in limbo and not going anywhere. So maybe they'll come out with an Ahsoka series before they come out with the Obi-Wan series.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
But that kind of wraps up the first episode, right? Like we've actually managed to keep this under an hour and a half long. It's amazing.
Very good.
All right, so that's about it. I mean, that's about all we have for the show. It was awesome. I'm really excited about episode 2. Pay attention over the next couple days because we're going to be releasing a bonus episode this week. There is some fun stuff going on StarWars.com right now. Actually, it started about 15 minutes ago. We were going to try and get it into this episode, but we're going to take some time to watch this virtual premiere and talk about it as a bonus episode for the week. We are back to normal with our Friday releases, right? So make sure you check us out. Every week, we're going to be coming at you with more breakdowns of each episode. Check us out on our Facebook and our Instagram at Bantha Milk Podcast, on Twitter at Bantha Milk. BanthaMilkPodcast.com. Check out our parent organization, the Ears Up Network. And it's been a great episode.
Next Friday, there may be another special episode earlier in the day because Nick and I are both off from work. So we may try and do a live viewing of us watching episode 2 for the first time. And we'll record that and we'll see how long we can keep that on YouTube until Disney takes it down.
That's right. Listen. If Disney decides to do a DCMA takedown strike on us, we will have officially made it.
We will have made it. We will be awesome.
Right?
That will be the most awesome thing ever. So
that's right.
I think
so. Check us out. Check us out on all the places you get your pods. Check us out on YouTube, and be ready for all the new Mandalorian content coming at you from Bantha Milk Podcast here in Bantha Milk headquarters, and over there at Rob's Bantha Milk headquarters. We have been excited to talk to you, and we have spoken.
We have spoken.